Take the high ground, or the high ground will take you. Friends, this is the Formless Podcast, episode 90, with Tyler, the superhuman, and me, Dustin. Good morning.
Good morning. Man, where was that quote from?
Miyamoto Musashi.
Take the high ground.
Or the high ground will take you.
Wow.
And you can interpret that a whole bunch of different ways. You know, military strategy, high ground usually has the advantage, unless you're talking aircraft, right? You can dive bomb on them. But in general, the high ground, you have the high ground. You're, like Anakin. I have the high ground.
Yeah, Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan, sorry. Anakin didn't have the high ground. He was in trouble. But you can also, translate that or interpret that as taking the high road.
Interesting.
Yeah, that one's a deep one.
That is a deep one. Take the high ground or the high ground will take you. Fun little fact about that, and this relates into the high ground.
Yeah.
If you watch The Phantom Menace.
Okay. It's been a while.
Episode 1, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. And at the end, when Obi-Wan is hanging, by his hands, almost about ready to fall down the shaft. Qui-Gon's been killed.
Yeah. Okay.
Or he hasn't been killed. He's been stabbed. He hasn't died yet. And then Darth Maul's at the top, kind of swinging his lightsaber and making all these sparks fly on Obi-Wan. And Obi-Wan just barely hanging on, right?
Yeah.
Well, Obi-Wan pulls himself up using the Force, right? And then grabs Qui-Gon's lightsaber and then spins and jumps over Darth Maul, cuts him in half, right?
Okay, yeah.
So Darth Maul had the high ground right then. And Obi-Wan had the low ground. So fast forward to episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Now Obi-Wan is on the high ground and he's like, "Oh, Anakin, it's over. I've got the high ground."
Yeah.
And when Anakin goes to jump over Obi-Wan, Obi-Wan's like,
I've been here.
Yeah. Rookie move. and then he cuts him down, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Then it gets even better. So then you fast forward to Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
And if you guys haven't seen these movies, then
you had ample time, so no spoilers.
Yeah, no. Yeah, you guys, there was plenty of time. Episode 3 came out almost 20 years ago, 2005.
Oh my!
So then fast forward to Return of the Jedi, and they're on the Death Star, and Luke and Vader are fighting, and Luke backflips up onto this catwalk.
Okay.
And he's up there and he's like, "I'll never join you, blah, blah, I'll never
join me."
And he throws down, I can't remember if he throws down his saber at that point or anyways, but Luke's now on the high ground. And what does Vader do? Vader throws his saber up at Luke and cuts the catwalk down so Luke falls down to his level. So it's like Vader's almost like, last time I jumped up on the high ground, I lost my 2 legs and my remaining arm.
This isn't going to happen again.
I'm not making that mistake again. So he's like, "Get down here." He throws his saber up there. So it's funny how, the high ground, so that ties into.
Absolutely.
And how George Lucas thought about that and he built that into the story. And it's those little things you probably never noticed that.
I've seen all of those movies.
Yeah.
And I know, when you're talking about those scenes, I knew what you were talking about. Because I've seen him multiple times. But I didn't put all that together.
Neither did I.
That's deeper than I went. That's really good.
I think I heard it from a guy who was in the Army with one time, and he explained it to me, and I was like, oh, and I don't know if he read it on a message board or something, but I didn't notice it either.
That's like a scholar level, almost scholarly level knowledge of Star Wars.
Yeah. Well,
that's some deep nerd stuff.
Yeah. I remember making the connection between Obi-Wan and thinking, okay, Obi-Wan flipped over Darth Maul, and then Anakin tried to flip over Obi-Wan, but got cut down. So I kind of was like, oh, those are very similar, but I never made the connection at that level. But anyways, that ties into the high ground.
Yeah. You know what's even more awesome about this whole little segment we just did? None of that was rehearsed. We just started talking.
Yeah. Yeah.
You didn't know what quote I was going to say. That was all. That was pretty cool.
Pretty deep.
Pretty
yeah.
cool.
So, Yeah, taking the high ground, and always. I heard a black belt once say a black belt was he was having as the situation goes that I heard, was having some beef with, some issues with somebody, and rather than this other black belt, this black belt had issues with another person, and they were going back and forth. And I mean, they weren't
like exchanging words.
They weren't exchanging words, but it was just like the one black belt said, so I said that wrong, not going back and forth. But the one black belt said, well, I'm not gonna say anything about that other person. Because it'll just turn into a back and forth.
Oh, got you.
And this black belt said, well, I'm just going to take the high road, and I'm like the high ground, and not say anything back. And I still remember that. And I thought that was really cool.
Absolutely. And it's also the wiser decision. Like, instead of getting into a pissing match with somebody, like, what's the point? What's the end result of this going to be?
Yeah.
That was so funny. I have to tell a story about Coltrane. So when he's 15 now, but when he was like 7 or 8, he was a little pistol. Like we had to keep an eye on him. Like, he was the kind of kid you bring over to people's houses, and they'd be like, "Hey, Hunter, thanks for coming."
Or Coltrane?
No, Hunter.
Oh.
Like his brother. "Hey, Hunter, thanks for coming. You're such a good kid." Cole? Yeah. Bring your parents with you next time, And he just had this, like, he just was full of energy, right? Like, full of energy. So we're at the park one day. Had some friends come from out of town. They brought their kids, and we took all the kids to the park. And they're all playing at the park, and there's a couple other families and kids there, and they're all wrestling around. And the adults are sitting over off the side, and we're all catching up. And one of my friends like smacks me on the shoulder and is like, "Hey, you need to keep an eye on your kid," talking about Cole. And I look over, and Cole's like mad dogging this other kid, right? They're like, they're I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's pertained. So I just kind of, raise my voice over and like, "Hey, Cole, why don't you come over here for a second?" Like, trying to get him away from that situation. And he looks over at me and he goes, "Dad, I'm just having a discussion." And he's like maybe 6 years old. But it was like the way he said it and the way he was looking at me, and he had his fists clenched, and he's like, "I'm just having a discussion." And they're like, "No, you're not. Get over here, kid. I don't need you scrapping with some other kid." But yeah. Oh. When you said that, going back and forth, that's what that reminded me of. But yeah, it's the wiser decision, I think, a lot of times. And like, what are you gonna do? Like, going back and forth with somebody like that sometimes just
it's just, yeah,
you're not gaining anything.
No, and it's just slinging mud, and it's just, you're just getting down in the mud and with the pigs and slinging mud. And I always like to think about it back, like when I was a kid growing up, like because we're 5 years apart. 5.
I'll be 45 this week.
Okay, this week.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Happy early birthday.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, so you'll be 45, so I'll be 40 later this year. So we're about 5.5 years apart.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're about the same generation. Did you grow up watching wrestling?
Absolutely. WWF,
WCW, yeah, like all that. Well, I remember just like when I was like a really little kid, like back in the 90s, like when this was like, I mean, I'm talking like 1990, 1989. The old wrestling, like that, that's the old wrestling. I mean, some people will be like, "Nah, it was the 80s, man." But those wrestlers, they would get so on these ego trips. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
It was, this person's talking smack about me.
The spotlight.
They had the spotlight, and it was always a battle of the egos.
What was it called? The promotional reels? No. where they do the little talk in front of the camera and
Yeah.
they talk about how they're gonna crush whomever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, just that, and then you get one guy, you get Ric Flair coming out, and and then Nature Boy Ric Flair, and then he's got a beef with somebody, and they're in the ring, and they each got their mics, and they're trading barbs, and it's stuff like that, and that just reminds me of like the ego stuff of like just like the trading, and I look back at that stuff, and I mean the wrestling was fun and watching it, but I'm like, man, like I don't know if that was like the best influence, for that type of stuff.
Probably
right?
Not really.
Because that's teaching kids to have egos, and if somebody says something bad about
trash to each other,
talk trash, and just I've never been a trash talker, and I mean, you do a little bit of it. I certainly did it in the Army, but it's just kind of like one of those things. Like, I mean, is it?
Well, I guess
I don't think it's worth it.
It all depends on like what the goal is.
Yeah.
Like if it's a couple of guys hanging out and they're just goofing around and they're just bagging on each other, like that's just for fun. But like to do that to a rival or whatever.
Yeah.
I understand why like professional fighters do it all the time. Certain ones like Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
He's probably one of the more popular guys to do that. But it's also kind of dirty.
It's dirty, and it's very immature in my mind.
Yeah, but people like it.
No,
it sells tickets.
No, I agree. It does sell tickets. It gets attention, and these people got to be right. We live in the day and age of these people are trading barbs on Twitter, right? Like,
that's my favorite. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
I love to watch people talk trash to each other on Twitter, say stuff they wouldn't say to each other's faces. That's for sure.
That's true. And that goes to the Mike Tyson quote, which Mike Tyson said, social media has made y'all too comfortable with talking trash and not getting punched in the face
for it. Yep.
So that like ties it back in. But what do you think about that? Like the ego trash talking versus that quote of taking the high road?
Well,
or the high ground. Yeah.
Yeah.
High road,
high ground. Yeah. So the childish part of me, the part that likes like
drama,
South Park and the Beavis and Butthead and all of that stuff, really enjoys that and gets a good laugh out of it. The more adult side of me is like, you shouldn't do that. That's like, it's just shameful. But I understand that that's a business for some people.
Totally.
Even Twitter, like there's people that need that attention on Twitter and they find ways to milk that for gain personally or, socials credit or whatever. But I don't think I would engage in it at any kind of level other than fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I might trade quibs with you when we're sparring, like just goofing around. Oh, I got you, or you got me, or whatever. But I don't think I would take it anything more than that intentionally. Because that's just not, I don't think that's who I am really. And I don't think that's like you're not that way. Other than joking around,
Yeah.
And I always thought that, I don't know, I kind of feel like people that do that all the time, I feel like they're like hurt people.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I'm not a psychologist.
No, either am I. And I don't even play one on TV.
But I agree. Like somebody that's always got to be doing that is.
Oops. They've got some issue that they're dealing with.
Yeah. And then it's like, I've noticed with people like that, like it's almost like you're like, well, I don't know when you can take me seriously. Like when, like, can we ever have a real conversation when it's like,
yeah, I have a coworker and actually, excuse me. We're in talks of having him on the show. He's got some other side projects that he does that I think would be pretty interesting. But we joke around so much at work. Like when we do work together, it only happens about once a week or so. We joke around so much with each other that like half the time we don't know when the other one's being serious.
Yeah.
So we're like, hold on, wait, did you mean that? Like, oh, okay, sorry. You know, so that, you know, that kind of thing could get you into trouble if you're not real careful with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and plus, like, I don't know, like that to me just is not appealing. It's fun. Don't get me wrong. It's fun to watch and it's fun to like see, or it's fun to participate and like joke around. But once it gets serious, I'm like, eh.
Yeah, exactly. Because then it's a slippery slope into then.
Well, and yeah, it is. It's a total slippery slope. But like, I got other things to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a Facebook group here locally, and there's some people that are like, it's supposed to be like a buy-sell group. You know, like, hey, I got my car for sale, blah, blah, blah. But for some reason, these two people that have been in the local news a lot are like, they've had restraining orders against each other. They've gone like all sorts of stuff. They're anonymously posting other like crap about the other guy. It's so like, these are full grown men.
Yeah,
doing
exactly.
This, right? Like, come on. Your mama did not teach you something, obviously.
Yeah. And like you said, you've got to have that camaraderie between coworkers, or like in the army among soldiers.
Yeah,
you got to have that banter, and that is totally
it takes the
necessary.
Stress away.
Absolutely. Yeah, like totally agree. It's just at some point it's like, okay, like you're just around those people that are like joke. But
the job still has to get done.
Yeah. And I've seen times where like people keep joking, and then like they'll tell like the new guy to go, like the new guy will ask what they need to do. And like the more experienced person will be like, oh, go do this ridiculous thing that I'm telling you to go do. And the new guy new girl wanting to please
goes and does
them. And then the other person's like, oh man, look at that person. Like, oh, what an idiot. Like we got him to do that. Man, I have no respect for that. Yeah. I think that's lame. And I want to go on the record for that.
So I don't think I've done anything too terrible like that.
Yeah.
But I used to manage, I was the closing shift supervisor at a grocery store. And I one time got this new kid, first job. And I went up to her and I was like, hey, I got a store complaint. One of the customers called and said all of our salad dressings had separated. The oil and vinegar salad dressings had separated. So I need you to shake all these bottles and put them back on the shelf, right? And so I made a loop around the store and I came back and she had gone down about halfway. And I go, hey, you're not shaking these enough. Look at these ones that you just did. They're all separated again. So
but that's funny. That's harmless. Yeah. Like I'm talking about the really stuff.
Like she didn't have to travel anywhere.
Yeah, or spend an hour doing something. That's harmless. That's
this was
funny.
Like a 2-minute little.
Yeah, thing. That's funny. You know, I've just.
Okay, so you didn't lose any respect for me then?
No, not for that. No. I just sometimes, you know, it's like,
you could take things like that too far.
Yeah, when it gets taken too far, and then it's like, I've just seen it just when it, you know, I mean, you know, you just see it I've seen it on movie sets. I've seen it in the Army, and it gets taken too far. I mean, I think I can't remember an instant, but I'm sure I've been the brunt of those. And I don't think those ever made me feel better about myself. It was a good laugh, but I don't know if it ever built me up.
It's like when it's done as like a camaraderie thing or an icebreaker or like hey, you're one of the team.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's cool.
Yep, but if it's just malicious and mean.
Yeah. Like let's make this person look like an idiot.
Yeah. Let's laugh at them at their expense.
Yeah.
Then it's kind of like, that ain't cool.
Yeah, that ain't cool. Yeah. Like I heard this story one time, like one time, a specific instance, somebody that I knew worked in an ER room, and they had the new guy that had some specialized piece of equipment, and this new guy was it was some important specialized piece of equipment that they need in the ER room.
Expensive, probably.
What?
If it's specialized,
And
it's expensive.
Yeah. And so somebody told this person, like, hey, they need you out in the parking lot with that to do something. And so that person was out in the parking lot pushing that cart around with the expensive piece of equipment, looking
for a patient.
For a patient or something to do with that. And it was just and I'm like, an ER room? Like, that's lame. Somebody might come in right away needing that piece of equipment, and you told this person to be out,
and they're out in the parking lot wandering around with
doing and wanting to do the right thing, and it's just like, you know what, like, oh man, if I would have found out about that, like I would not have been cool with that. But you know, but that's different than, like you said, the salad dressing. There's there's no consequences to that.
Nobody lost anything.
No, but yeah, exactly. And I think it's good, you know, when stuff like that happens, that you probably came back and that coworker and you guys had a good laugh, right?
Oh, yeah.
Shaking the salad dressing, like, I was just messing with you or whatever. Did they laugh?
They did.
They laughed.
Did.
Yeah.
They turned red. You know, they got a little embarrassed, but it was all in good fun. It wasn't like, you know, it wasn't at their expense. They were part of the team.
They were part of the team,
and they got it.
Yeah,
you know, they played pranks too.
Yeah. And in a way, that's like, you know, we always talk about emptying our cup. That's a way for that person to be like, they went from being now on the outside of the team to now, they emptied their cup. It was almost like a rite of passage, like something like that.
Like, now you're one of us.
Now let's refill your cup, and now you're part of the team.
Yeah.
Like
that's a good one. I like that. That's cool. That was that stuff's fun.
That stuff's good. Good time. We all, like, you know, it's what are some of the jokes we do here at the dojo with the kids? Like, hey, your
belt's untied.
Your belt's
like
untied. Like, hey, your shoes are untied.
They're not wearing any shoes.
And they look down, and then you kind of bop them in the head or something lightly, you know.
Yeah, that one's good. We play a game in my Monday night class called Jump Duck. Right, pretty simple. You either duck or you jump. And you got like this foam staff, and you're swinging it at their head or their feet. And almost always they jump when they should duck.
Right.
Or they duck when they should jump.
I've done that.
Yeah. And we've all done that. So that one's always fun. You always exaggerate that a little bit. And then when they get used to it, you swing it straight down at them.
And then they probably jump up.
They jump up and hit it, or they duck, and you still like whack them in the head with it. You know, that's a popular rite of passage, I think.
The shoe or the game. The game. Your shoes untied, your belt's untied game. You know, that kind of stuff is. I think everyone in this building has had that happen to them at one time or another. Yep.
Yeah. For sure.
And that stuff, that stuff, like your shoes untied. It's like, one, it teaches people, right? Because it's one, it's funny. It's like, what? Wait, I'm not wearing any shoes.
What are you talking about?
Yes, yeah. And then baps, and you get bopped, and it really teaches you, like, one. Like, at least for me, it like you don't necessarily believe everything everyone says.
Yeah. Don't take everything at face value.
For good or bad. Mm-hmm. And then two, it's to maintain your frame. Like, you know, oh, hey, look out the window. What's that? And then they look, and then you get hit. It's like, no, you keep your focus on your opponent.
Yeah. Keep your eyes on the prize, kind of thing.
Keep your eyes on the prize. Yeah.
Not only that, too. Like, I find once you do that with, like, especially a beginner, somebody who's like really nervous, maybe they're a little on the timid side, and you gently do that, you kind of like you let them know that like, hey, I'm not a threat to you.
Yes. Yeah.
Like I am going to help you along on this little journey here. Like, chill out. It's all right, kind of thing.
Yeah. Can we pause and tell them, like,
I think maybe we should pause.
maybe you should tell them.
Yeah, I will. Let's have a marker. All right, so let's continue. That reminds me of some of the things I wanted to talk about on this episode, actually. Goals, because we talked about that. We a few episodes back, we talked about mentioning our goals and giving updates on how we've been doing. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about, which I've been meaning to talk about for a while now, is lessons learned over like this last year. Goals, you wanted to hit that first?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, as far as my goals, like I've really been, like I talked on the podcast in the beginning or end of December, beginning of January.
Yeah.
Like I had these goals and I posted on social media.
Yes.
All these goals of like, for example, like bench pressing 225 pounds. Like I've been hitting the gym 4 to 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Like I've been hitting it and
you definitely shows.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah. You're bringing sexy back for sure.
Okay. Thank you. Glad to know you're married. It's good.
That was awesome.
So
Yeah.
So I'm staying on the goal. Like we got the black belt board out here in the dojo that says "Stay on your goal." Well, I'm staying on the goal of hitting the gym, and
awesome.
Some days it's it's just like who doesn't struggle going to the gym?
Man. Yeah. No, mine personally, like I had.
Yeah, let's hear yours.
I had some of mine, and honestly, this month's been crazy. January, the whole month of January can just kiss it as far as I'm concerned. Work, like it's the slow time of year. And that's when things get like everybody starts pointing fingers.
Yeah.
Like we're not making as much money as we were last month. So it's your
what's up?
Yeah. What's going on? How come we can't do this? And that kind of stuff. So that always just sucks. But it's meant that I'm putting in longer hours. So it's making free time much more limited.
Yeah.
So I don't have I haven't had a whole lot of extra time, but I'm still trying to hit them. And so basically what I'm saying is my progress hasn't been what I would like it to be, but it's still been progress. It's just been baby steps.
Yes. Yes.
But I was really starting to feel down about it because like I made these goals, right? And I'm going to get all pumped up and I'm going to go do them, right? So I'm all excited. And then all of a sudden, like because of situations that aren't necessarily in my control, I can't put the time and effort into it that I would like to. And bummed me out major, like hard, right? And I saw this thing, this guy was talking about small steps, long vision.
Oh.
So
small steps,
long vision. So he was a friend of actually a friend of mine sent it to me. And I was like, I saw it and I was like, oh, that's good. And then like 2 days later, I'd kind of forgotten about it and somebody had sent it to me, a friend. And he's like, remember this. Oh, dang. That's awesome. Shout out to Dio Mark. Just hit 200 episodes on his podcast.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, Dio Talk. If you haven't checked it out, you should. Dio Talk.
Dio Talk.
Yeah. Really cool guy. But small steps, long vision. So have the broad, grand vision. Just keep continually making those small steps that just walk. You're going to get there, right? And the guy goes on to say, like, most people have that reversed. They have a small vision, but they're taking those long steps towards it.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
Small steps, long vision.
So that got me out of my funk. I was like, you know what? I don't care. It doesn't matter because my vision's long, and as long as I'm making steps, who cares the length of those steps? As long as I keep making those steps. So that's something that I've been trying to remember when things
get down.
Well, when they're just not, you know how you get this vision in your head, or you get this like, oh, I'm going to do this, and then they don't turn out the way you want. That bummed me out. So like, so my physical fitness goals and my stretching goals haven't been what I've wanted, right? Like I haven't been able to hit them as hard as I wanted to. Still tried. I just didn't. The results equaled the effort, unfortunately, right? But they weren't the results I wanted to get. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So, but the other hand, I did have some other goals. I got some stickers made. I'm going to show those here shortly. I gave you one.
Oh, they're
you
so
actually
cool.
shared it.
I posted on social media.
Yeah. Those turned out better than I expected to. So that was really cool. The other things, the other goals that I had were like, just getting a little more organized with the podcast itself, having like a checklist, having like just simple stuff that I always thought I should do, but never did.
Yeah.
So like this was a great excuse to like go, okay, do them now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've been doing that and just trying to make things smoother and more, for lack of a better term, just more organized, I guess. More
streamlined.
Yeah. More like I get these grand visions of things, and then I'm just like hodgepodge it together and do it, you know, and I just fix it as we go. Right? So this is me fixing it as we go kind of thing. Yeah.
Keep going.
Oh, yeah. No. So like I got simple stuff. Like I got a checklist. And then
the checklist is good.
The checklist is good. And then we've been like trying to get more organized with the YouTube channel and that sort of thing, and trying to be more consistent. Still learning on that avenue or that front. But it's all been exciting and fun. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You're doing such a good job of it.
Oh, I don't think so, but thank you.
No, yeah, you are.
Got a couple other things to do today on that, and just keep plugging along, small steps. Just one little baby step after the other.
Small steps. I mean, it brings to mind just the podcast. I mean, just small steps. We just said, hey, let's
do it.
Let's start the pod. What are we waiting on? And then here we are on episode 90.
Yeah.
We're approaching on 100.
For sure. We still got to get our heads together around what we're going to do on episode 100, or what we're going to do in honor of episode 100.
I have a couple ideas.
Okay,
I have
cool.
a couple ideas.
Cool.
Yeah. I got a couple ideas.
Right on.
But yeah, no, that's interesting because when it comes to a lot of like I mentioned earlier, like the goals and a lot of it goes back to emptying your cup, and
getting rid of some of those preconceived notions
and organizing yourself a lot more, throwing stuff out. And it's almost like emptying your cup of everything and then being like, what do I want to put back into this thing?
Well, yeah. What's useful? What's not? What am I going to keep?
The Bruce.
What am I holding on to that I need to let go of?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's like we were talking, letting go. It's sometimes it is emptying your cup, and sometimes it's just letting go of stuff that's there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
physically or emotionally. Well, like I've got this garage, right? We got all sorts of stuff in it. From everybody's got stuff in it, and you go through it. You're looking for something. You go through it, and you're like, pull out a box. And it's like, what is this? I've had this for so long, and I didn't even miss it.
Yeah. Why am I
hanging on to this? This was important to me at one time, but
Done.
round
Out.
filed, yeah. Just let go of some of that stuff.
Let go. I talked to a couple that I know. I talked to them on New Year's Eve. Actually, I was at this New Year's Eve party I go to every year. It's like a really awesome New Year's Eve party, and there's a husband and wife that are there every year. I see them a couple times a year at these people's house, and they have like a party in the summer and then a couple in the fall.
Right on.
They got them all, and they're good parties. See this couple all the time at these parties, and they're like, we're getting out of California and we're going to another state, and somewhere in the Bible Belt, I think it was, they were looking at, in Arkansas or something, and the lady, she goes, well, I just told my husband that we just don't need any stuff. Let's just get rid of everything, and we're just gonna go out there, and we just don't need to take anything with us. And I was like, wow,
Just burn the bridges. Huh?
yeah. She was like, we don't need to get any more stuff between now and when we move out there. Like we don't need stuff.
So just sell it all, or
I don't know. They
give
were
it
probably
away?
giving a lot of it away and selling it, donating it, and then just stopping to buy stuff. And she was talking about the same thing. She's like, I had these this set of dishes that somebody gave me, and I was holding on to them, and I was thinking I was going to use them, and I've had them for X amount of years, and I never used them, and so I just gave them away, stuff like that. It was just really funny to hear that type of stuff. It was really good. So
that's awesome.
That's similar to what you're saying.
Exactly.
Why did I find that thing in the garage? And yeah, and that's kind of something I've learned definitely the last year. Like now we're a month into this year.
Yeah.
And I really felt like, a lot of things, just trimming the fat off your life, trimming the fat off my life. Sometimes the fat's good, right? You get a good steak that's fat and marbling.
Tastes awesome.
Oh, it's great, and then sometimes you just want that lean meat, and like no fat. By the way, I don't know if you noticed this. I found this out kind of by accident. If you use lean ground beef, I'm talking like 93% lean or 90 something, that makes the best taco meat. Lean ground beef.
Really?
Yeah. If you use the more fatty taco meat, like it'll clump together and it's kind of got fat in it,
Yeah.
But that really lean ground beef is real crumbly.
It doesn't stick together.
It falls apart. And if you use the right amount of seasoning, man, it's like that crumbly ground beef or ground turkey I've been trying. Anyways, so that's lean versus fat.
I think ground turkey and turkey bacon is un-American.
That's true. That's true.
It might be healthy for you, but it's un-American.
That's true. Wait, so is it just because it's ground turkey and turkey bacon? I mean, we eat turkey on Thanksgiving.
That's the only time I eat turkey.
Okay. All right.
Unless we go turkey hunting. Then I would make an exception. We can eat turkey twice a year. My wife always wants to buy like turkey for like sandwiches and stuff. I'm like,
what?
I'm not a big fan of turkey.
Okay.
Like,
all right.
It's okay. I've had turkey. That's a whole nother topic. I'm getting sidetracked. Turkey's all right. I'm just ribbing you.
It's so good for you.
It is. It's
Turkey.
supposed to be really good for you. It's lean, right?
Oh, very lean. Jeez Louise. And then you eat a bunch of it and it's got the tryptophan, makes you sleepy, But yeah, no. But back to the trimming the
fat,
trimming the
lessons
fat.
learned.
Lessons learned. I've noticed since we talked about my goals, like going to the gym a lot and like really working on like shaving down the belly fat that I have. Like I'm already a pretty slim, slender guy, but I've got a little bit of a belly fat right around the belly button. And I've had since I was probably 12, and I'm still working on getting that off. But I see that slowly getting less and less and less. And I'm working on that 8-pack, right? And it's so nice to see that thing starting to just emerge almost like a millimeter at a time or something. The smallest little,
Right on. Hey, question, and hopefully this isn't too off topic. With working out, I read there's studies that show physical fitness helps you with your mental health and your cognitive abilities and stuff. Do you notice any difference upstairs in your head?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, and I'm not an expert on physical fitness, so like I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I'm not. That's not my
That's
expertise.
not your expertise. Yeah.
But yeah, I have noticed the difference. Yeah, I think there is nothing negative about physical fitness. Like it's when you exercise, you feel better. I mean, your heart's pumping, so you're pumping more blood, you're filtering out things. I mean, it's just, yeah, I have noticed the difference in a way that I don't know that even medications would do. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychiatrist.
I agree.
It's my personal opinion that, the mental health.
So I've heard that before.
Yeah.
Right. And I get grouchy and irritable. Like if I don't get to do Saturday class, or if I don't get to do my routine.
You always talk about how your wife you're too grumpy.
You're too grumpy. You need to go punch somebody, or you need to get punched. If she's really mad, she'll tell me I need to get punched, which generally is the case.
Yeah,
but it always. Yeah, it shifts my focus and shifts my attitude. Doing something physical. Whether my preferred physical fitness is to get on the mats and spar or drill, but lifting weights is like the second best, or doing like kettlebells or some sort of other physical activity.
Right.
If I can pick and choose, it's going to be out here in the mat 100% of the time. 100%. But you can't always do that. So
yeah, no, I think it's definitely. I don't see how I don't see how it can't help you.
It's not a detriment.
It's not a detriment. Like I've never heard of someone going to the gym and working out and they're like, my life's going to this. Yeah, I feel bad. Like, no, you feel sore.
You might feel sore. Yeah.
You might not want to go to the gym, but then that goes back to the whole. Gosh, that podcast I did in the 20s or 30s, the one that's is in our
walk through the door.
Walk through the door.
Walk through the door.
Just walk through that door, like Sensei Blue said. And so I do that at the gym, just walking through the door. So yeah, I've noticed a big difference in just in my cognitive abilities. And focus is in a different way. I think it's complementary to martial arts.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of the things that I want to get into is so I have like a kettlebell, but they have the mace or the clubs, Indian clubs. Have you seen those?
I think so.
They're just like weights, but they got a handle and a weight on the end, and you swing them.
I have seen those. Yeah.
Oh man, those things look awesome. You could do the same thing with like a hammer, like a sledgehammer or something, but they just look awesome.
Yeah, they do. I don't think I've ever used one. Have you?
I've never used one. I've seen videos. A friend Daryl from Kung Fu Conversations, he has some, and he's shown me a couple of things, and they look awesome. They're not expensive. I think you can get them from like On It or Amazon even for like $40 or $50. But it's not something that's like going to wear out.
Right.
It's not going to like break on you. You'll have that for the rest of your life. The thing is like, am I going to use it?
Yeah.
Is it going to sit in the corner and collect dust? And am I going to look at it and go, oh yeah,
I'll get to that next.
Hyped about that, and now it just sits.
I'll get to that next week.
Yeah.
I'll start swinging that on Monday.
Yeah. So, but they seem like a fun way to exercise.
Yeah.
Like we have a treadmill, or not a treadmill. We have a stationary bike. And like that just never appealed to me. Like I'm going to pedal on this bike and not go anywhere.
Yeah.
That's dumb.
That's hard.
To me,
it's
right?
hard, yeah.
But you know what's interesting? I got on there and did 5 miles like that, just watching YouTube videos or like listening to a podcast. Get my head out of the fact that like I'm just riding. Now, if we get a couple of mountain bikes and go ride a trail, that I'm down. I can jump on that and go. Or a road bike, whatever, as long as we're moving somewhere and there's scenery, there's a purpose behind this effort.
Yeah. That's totally different going up on a mountain bike trail. Yeah.
Or even a road bike, and just riding on a road. Like you're traveling, you're moving somewhere. The stationary bike, where it doesn't matter how hard you pedal, you're not moving. That's to me is like,
yeah, no.
We're not even powering a light bulb or something, Let's make a purpose to this thing. But doing that and like having some sort of distraction, you probably, like I noticed I didn't even realize the fact that I was doing this ridiculous thing and not moving.
Yeah.
So that just an observation.
I ran, 20 minutes last night on the treadmill at the gym, and I felt good, but I was like, man, this ain't the same as
it's not the same as like running.
Not even close.
Running on a track even, or a trail. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So,
but they got TVs and things you can distract yourself with, so you can put in more as opposed to just like what's between your ears.
Yeah. You can do that. You watch the news. You can watch. I think I was at the gym the other day, and I was on the treadmill, and they had Goodfellas playing on the TV.
Oh, that's a great movie.
Goodfellas. Yeah, I haven't seen that one in a year. I think I've only ever seen it once.
Really? Is that Ray Liotta?
Joe Pesci, Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
Sharon Stone.
That's an excellent lobster movie.
Yeah. So. But yeah, and one of the other things too, like that I've really been doing the exercise for is now that I'm getting a little bit older, my blood pressure, starting having to have issues.
Okay.
Yeah, where like I had high blood pressure for a while the last couple months. And so, exercise is supposed to lower your blood pressure. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, my blood pressure is almost back down to, it's still a little high, but almost back down to zero. I mean, normal.
Not zero.
That'd be bad.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But normal.
We're going to be amongst each other in a different circumstance if your blood pressure is zero.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but that's been another thing too. So,
well, that's gotta feel good.
Yeah. And, I don't take, don't take any meds. I take zero meds for anything, all natural. I think if I do, one natural way I found that's supposed to lower your blood pressure is beet juice or beet powder. You mix beet powder and with your water or protein drink. And then another one is magnesium taurate. I think it's magnesium taurate. Mm-hmm. And you just take you take some of those capsules. It's like 3 according to the bottle I have, and that lowers your blood pressure. So I couple in that with working out and yeah.
Probably stressing less too helps.
Stressing less too helps. Just like we talked about, shaving off different parts of the life and just different activities and it really, it's emptying your cup. Mm-hmm. Emptying your cup, and just like this year, I really started the year with like, oh, I'm not going to do XYZ anymore.
Yeah.
And really emptying the cup and being like reevaluating I'm so glad that we put down our lists, we said on the podcast and said, oh, let's do this.
Look at this and see what's going on. Yeah.
And let's list them all out and put them out there. And then, because it's really forced me to re-examine everything in my life and be like, whoa, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Where am I spending my time and my energy and my resources? Kind of like what you were talking about.
This is probably a cliche, but my wife, she she this was a while ago. She was like cleaning out her closet, like going through her clothes. And she was talking to herself, not like having a conversation, but she was like asking herself a question.
Yeah.
Does this bring me joy? Right. So she's like going through each thing. Is this worth keeping? You know, basically. And I was like, what are you saying? Like laughing at, you know, I just overheard it in passing. I'm like, what are you doing? You know, you wackadoo. And she's like, well, I'm just trying to figure out if I need to keep this. I'm looking for a reason. Like, do I want this? Am I going to hang on to it? Am I going to use it? Or do I need to get rid of it?
Yes.
And so she had like 2 piles. She's like, nope, yes, nope. And it was like a good way to like, oh, wow, I could reevaluate some things and use that tool, you know? That was a good one for me to learn. Like,
that's a great one.
You know,
I think a lot of times when we hold on to a lot of stuff like that, there's some more like emotional and psychological things we're hanging on to
versus like, is this good for me? Or is this moving me further down the road and I want to go? Right.
Yeah. Well, so kind of what your wife was doing is fantastic. I think that's awesome. Like that to hear.
Yeah. At first I was like, kind of like, you know, you nerd or whatever. But then the more I thought about it, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think there's a release there, a psychological, mental, emotional release when you just say, I can get rid of this stuff, and you're not holding like the baggage that we hold on to in our storage areas, our closets, our garage,
our car.
That's literally, in my opinion, a reflection of like our internal state. I heard that one time that people with messy rooms, that's a reflection of their internal state. If you have a physically messy room.
Oh crap.
Okay, I said that without knowing anything. Like I've never seen your room.
yeah, that is absolutely. I concur, sir.
I mean, go look this up, but
no, I concur.
Yeah. And so it's a reflection. And so like when you clean up your room and you clean up and then you clean out your storage areas, whether it's a storage unit, a closet, garage, whatever, it's almost symbolic of like, what are you cleaning out? Like I have a lot of stuff from my childhood that I'm gonna keep, right? Like my G.I. Joes, my Jurassic Park toys. My mom bought me the whole set. You know, all my binders with all my schoolwork from kindergarten to just high school, right? That I'm holding on to that stuff. But like I'm talking, there's a lot of other stuff that we just don't have use for, or somebody offered to give us a TV 10 years ago and now it's outdated, but we're still holding on to that TV for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't have that, by the way, but I'm just saying, I'm using that as an example, you know? So like, and I think that's, I just really think it's symbolic and the baggage, the things we hold on to in our storage is kind of like, what are we holding on to emotionally and mentally?
Well, yeah.
I could be wrong.
No. I agree. I don't think you're wrong. I think you're right for you. But
that's true. That's a good way to put.
So like, I am a saver. Like I'm a pack rat in a way, because I'm always like, oh, I might need that later. Like all this scrap lumber or this scrap steel, like I might need that later. Maybe I need to fix something with this. And sometimes, absolutely. Like I've got jars of nuts and bolts and screws and all sorts of stuff, and scrap steel and scrap lumber, and like some of that stuff has absolutely proven useful. But at a certain point, you're like, I got a lot of crap.
How much do I need? Yeah,
I got a lot of crap that I don't need. I could probably get rid of that. That's why I was laughing when you were like talking about the room and the state of your. I'm like, oh yeah, that's me.
Yeah,
you know.
Oh, I've never seen your room, I wasn't saying.
No. But
you're right there, and then something happens, like maybe something at your house you need a piece of lumber for, or something on your porch breaks. And you're like, I need a piece of lumber, and you're like, oh, I've got that scrap lumber. I don't have to go to Home Depot.
Have you seen the meme where they're like, there's two guys and they're like setting up a bed frame, and they need some piece that's all set up. And the guy's like, it's done like mimes. They're not talking, like you can't hear what they're saying. But the guy's like, we need a piece like this, or he's like, hold some weird shape up, and the other guy gets this like light bulb moment, and he goes digging through the garage and he pulls this scrap piece of lumber out that's like this shape that the guy's making. Yeah,
he's been holding on to it
for like 100 years. Yeah.
I've had that happen a couple of times with my parents. They say they're savers, and they'll save everything. And then my dad's got his little tub of like his little milk jug carrier that he's cut out and holds his hose repair materials.
Well, when you have a garden and you got horses and you got to like water all of these things, you probably get tired of breaking hoses and you got to have stuff to fix them,
to repair them. And so, but there's been times where like, we needed, oh, hey, do we have this item? And my mom will be like, oh yeah. And she'll go in her cupboard, and she's been saving it for 20 years probably for that exact moment. She's like, I've got that.
Growing up, we had a junk drawer in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And it had like nuts and bolts and
rubber bands,
cheap tools and rubber bands from all the crappy furniture that you buy that you put together, like the generic little Allen wrench, probably had a half a dozen of those in it, and scissors and just buttons and just crap, right?
A couple of stray playing cards, probably. Right? Am I right? Like,
no, you're absolutely right.
A ruler.
Yeah.
Some tacks. Swiss Army knife.
Half roll of tape.
Yeah, half roll of tape.
The one that you can never like get the strand off to use. It's like, I'll mess with that later.
Yeah. Some unsharpened pencils.
Broken nail files and stuff. Yep.
Yeah, we had one of those.
I think that was pre-internet. Like everyone had one of those, I think, at least in my neighborhood where I grew up.
Yeah. Yeah, we all had those scrap drawers. Yeah, those are funny. No, but I think definitely it's so far, as far as goals for me, it's been a good year.
Good.
Yeah, what about
good start. Honestly, I think so. Overall, like if I was going to give myself a letter grade on like how well I stuck to my goals, solid C. I'm a harsh critic of myself, but I would say definitely average. Not as good as I'd like, but not for lack of effort.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not where I would want to be at the end of this month. Like when we first did this and I envisioned, I thought I would have much more progress, but it's not where I want it. So high C, low B, we'll say. Yeah.
So what do you think you can do better? But it's not for lack of effort, like you said.
What I could do better.
Or what could you change?
My attitude, for one. Instead of being poor, pitiful me, and work is hard, and I'm tired. Yeah, so is the rest of the world. Suck it up, right? Plan it out. I'm good at like writing out a plan, but if something happens that I didn't plan for, that screws with me real bad. Yeah. So I need to like plan it out and plan contingencies in there. Like, oh, hey, if this doesn't work today, I'll catch that up tomorrow. Or, step A, if step A can't happen, step B and C need to do, whatever. Just organize that a little bit. And I think that would work.
Well, and you too, I mean, you have a wife and 3 kids, so you have some
sometimes,
leeway.
Like this morning, Tom woke up sick.
Yeah.
So that was not planned for. Well, I can't cancel. Like, he was supposed to test yesterday. He didn't end up doing that, but I had already made a commitment to come down. So it's like, okay, well, plans had to change. So this has got to happen, right?
Yeah.
That kind of thing throws you off, or it throws me off. So I need to plan for those unexpected things. And I think just like scheduling out a list and just being like, okay, work from this time to this time, squeeze in this little thing today. Just squeeze in this little thing and do this project and that kind of thing. I think if I would have done that at the beginning, I would have had a much better result at the end of this month.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does.
Yeah. And that's something like just that was just my own lack of planning.
Huh.
Like I made a goal list, but I didn't go any deeper than writing it out. I didn't like plan that out very well. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like, I'll do that. Well, how are you going to do that? I didn't ask myself any of those kinds of follow-up questions. That's the thing I'm looking for. I didn't ask myself any follow-up questions. Like you said, okay, I want washboard abs. Well, how am I going to get that? I need to exercise. Okay, well, how am I going to accomplish that? I'm going to join a gym. Okay, boom, right? Like you asked yourself those questions, you planned it out, and you went and did it. I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to exercise and stretch, and I'm going to, a handful of other things. Well, if it wasn't in my immediate grasp to go do it right now, it got followed through, but it didn't get done.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'll do different next time. I'll like plan this stuff out, and that's probably my project for when I go home today. Like literally like plan out my week more.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good idea, because then that shows where you're spending your time.
Exactly. Because it's too easy to sit on the computer or in front of the TV and just be like, ooh, what's on? Entertain me,
Yeah.
Which there's nothing wrong with doing that. But
you got to have those breaks.
You got to take a break. Everyone takes a break, but it becomes the crutch if I'm not careful for it. If I'm not like wary of it, it becomes the crutch that just like fills the time.
Yeah. That was another thing. This ties into what you just said. It becomes a crutch that fills the time. This was something I did not expect to happen this year that I actually did. So today it's been 4 weeks since I have watched a movie.
Oh,
it's been 4 weeks since I watched a movie.
Wow.
And in 4 weeks, so 4 weeks ago, the last movie I watched was Horizon with Kevin Costner. Fantastic Western. One of the best Westerns I've ever seen. Ever.
Really?
Oh, it's so good.
That's high praise.
Yeah. But I watched it and I was like, you know what? I mean, what am I going to follow this up with? Like, what am I going to follow? And I'm a filmmaker.
Yeah.
I'm a producer. A wannabe actor and a screenwriter, and I took a break from watching movies. And it was almost unintentional. Like I just like woke up the Sunday after, so it'll be 4 weeks tomorrow. I woke up and I was like, I don't think I'm going to watch a movie today. And I didn't watch any TV, nothing, no streaming, no nothing for like 2 weeks, nothing. Maybe a TikTok video or two, or something on YouTube, something pops up while I'm listening to music, but nothing like that. And so in the last 4 weeks, the only media type stuff I've watched is some episodes of 1923 with the Yellowstone spinoff, which is a great show. And then a little bit like bits and pieces of some Designated Survivor, which I didn't really watch that. It's just, you see them in passing when other people are watching them. But I've really taken a break from that. And when I come home at night, and the TV is no longer an option and these streaming services are no longer an option for me, you really start to say, well, where am I spending my time?
Yeah. What am I doing?
What am I doing? Once I fix dinner and I'm not watching something while I'm fixing dinner, I'm fixing dinner. I'm present fixing my food. And then I get done, I wash my dishes, then I'm like, well, now what? What am I going to do now? And it's I've almost taken out reading even books from my attention, because I'm even going deeper. I'm like, where's my attention? Like, am I looking for my next attention fix?
Or am I like progressing on something?
Am I progressing on something? And so that's when I've noticed you really see where you spend your time, because when movies and TV aren't an option, and books, it's like, what am I going to read? Like, okay, Zen and the Martial Arts, that's a great book, and we've been going through that, right? But anything else, I'm like, where's my attention? What am I giving my attention to? Because if you think about it, I mean, you know this, our time and attention is the most valuable asset we have.
For sure.
And where are we spending it? And I'm like, where am I spending? Like, I could sit and watch a movie for an hour and a half. Most movies are 90 minutes to 120 minutes, so an hour and a half to 2 hours.
You don't have to worry about what's going on in here.
You don't have to
entertain me.
You entertain me. You're in receive mode.
Yeah.
If I can do that every night for an hour and a half and watch a movie, I can go to the gym and go for an hour and a half, because that's a better place better way to spend my time.
Or you can work on something.
Improving your business, cleaning out your garage. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, write a script.
Writing a script. That's what I'm working on.
That's what if I had to guess, that's where I thought you were going. You're like, I quit watching movies every day because I'm working on a movie or something. I would have bet money that you were going to say that next.
No. But that's interesting, because I did have that thought. I was like, well, I can sit and spend an hour and a half every night watching a movie, or I could sit and spend an hour and a half every night and work on a script of my own. So that's in my mind to do.
Yeah.
But we're in the fundraising stages on the next film, where I'm trying to work on with somebody. And, so anyway, so we're working on that, and that's coming along.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, so that's it. So it's just really illuminated to me, where am I spending my time? You know, and not having shows to watch, and you got to have those brain breaks. I'm not saying like give up.
You're not a machine.
Yeah, you got to be able to turn it off.
You got to live life.
Humans have to have storytelling. We have to have we have to have stuff to give our attention to. But I start thinking like, well, what did people do 100 years ago back in the American West, right? It would get dark at night, right? And they'd go inside and they'd have their oil lanterns. What did they do? Did they pick up like a piece of wood and start whittling away until they got tired and then go to bed? Like, what did they do at night in the winter?
Well, once your survival needs are taken care of, what do you do with that free time?
And so, yeah, so that's been a big thing. So I haven't watched a movie in 4 weeks. As of tonight, will be 4 weeks.
Are you going to watch one tonight?
I don't know. Probably not. I don't know. Maybe. I haven't been to the movie theater even longer. And it's not for it. It's just another way of me emptying my cup and saying, okay, like, it's almost like God is taking me and saying like, okay, like we're going to do the next movie and the next movie and the next movie, but I want you to disattach from all these other movies that you watch. Where like, and it's emptying your cup and saying like, okay, now we're gonna do the movies that we're gonna do here. But it's for lack of a better term, it's almost like we don't want the influence of the other films to like come in on what I'm doing. Like if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I follow.
And that might be true for me, but not true for somebody else.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's
related. Have you ever read On Writing by Stephen King?
I know the book, no, but I have not read it.
I have a copy, and I will lend it to you if you'd like. It is phenomenal.
What does he say?
It's about writing. But his thing is like, if you're going to write novels, in his opinion, if you're going to write novels, you have to read.
Yep.
But you also have to write.
Yep.
And there's a balance. So if all you're doing is reading novels, dreaming up your novel, you're never going to find the time to write. So he's like all about it. You'll have to read it. It's good. But like the same thing with what you're saying, like, yeah, watching movies, you have to watch movies you can go, oh, I don't like this, I like this. You can dissect them and figure all of that out. But if you spend all your free time watching movies, you're never going to make any movies of your own.
Exactly. And then it becomes a distraction. Oh, I'm going to watch the next movie or read the next book and learn a little bit more.
Have you seen this series? Have you done this?
Yeah. And then learning in itself becomes a distraction. Have you ever heard of that theory?
Yeah.
Maybe you don't agree with it.
No.
Like trying to always be learn. It's like those college students, like Van Wilder, who made a career out of being, going to college, right? It's like, okay, like when are you going to graduate?
Yeah. Lots of people go to school for 7 years. They're called doctors.
Well, yeah,
that's a movie quote.
Yeah. But
Tommy Boy.
Yeah. That's a great movie. But yeah, no. And so like at some point it's like learning can almost at some point become a distraction. And so like I said, 4 weeks ago today, I watched Horizon and I said, fantastic film. And I was like, what can I follow that up with? Like, if I you just saw the Mona Lisa. How many more paintings do you need to see? How many more paintings do I need to see? Now, of course, I'm probably going to watch a movie in the next week or so, but you're not watching like, oh, what's the next one? Not machine gun of movies. It's almost like fasting from movies. Ooh, that's what I call it. It's fasting. That's a great thought. I like that. Fasting. It's like we talked about. You told me that story about Bruce Lee with his teacher. Like, remember where Bruce Lee wasn't. The teacher made him like take a break. You're gonna go over there for a little bit. He said don't. The teacher told Bruce Lee like you need to take a week off from martial arts. Yeah. Don't do it. Don't even think about martial arts. Right? Isn't that something like that? Yeah. I'll have to go back to that story. That's awesome, dude. Yeah. So then that allows me to come back and see things in regards to storytelling on movies and being like, ooh, that works. Shines a new light on it. It shines a new light and it just, it's a fast. That's cool. I like that a lot. That's great. I think that's a great spot to end it. Do you? I agree. You don't have anything else? That's it. Okay. I mean, I will be watching more movies. Oh, absolutely. I got a couple recommendations for you. I'll tell you after. That was great. That was awesome. Friends, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for listening to us ramble. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, come back next week. We'll bring you another one. Also, check us out on our Facebook page, Instagram, Facebook, Formless Pod. We have a Twitter handle, Formless Pod. We got an email account called formlesspod@gmail.com. And then we also have a website where you can buy awesome merch and more coming soon. Formlesspod.com. Get your stickers. Yeah, get your stickers. Have a good time.